Hello everyone, this is Satyaprakash. Welcome to my channel. In this video, I'll show you how to call Web API in ReactJS to get user details using Popup Modal. So guys, here I will use Axios library in React, which is used to uh, integrate our API endpoints in ReactJS. So before going to this video, please visit my previous videos. That is, if you are new to ASP.NET Web API, you can go through this playlist called ASP.NET Web API tutorial, and here you'll get some ideas on how to create a ASP.NET Web API and how to create ADO.NET Entity Data Model. So this playlist is available in my channel, right? And there is one more if you new to React, okay, and how to create the React application. So you can go through this my playlist called React tutorial. Okay, let's go continue with my presentation. So guys, in this video I'll create a web API endpoint to create user details, how to set up React application, what is Axios, how to set up Axios, call web API in React, check web API endpoints using browser inspect element. So guys, I am creating one notepad section. Okay, so I'm create total 15 steps. I'll discuss step-by-step process. Step 1, we need to create a table called user details React. So I'll go to my SQL server. So this is my user details React table design. Okay, and these are the columns. So this is the script for user details React table, and this table needs some records, so I inserted some records here, total 6 rows. Okay, so this is all about the records. So let's check about the step 2. We need to create ADO.NET Entity Data Model to map above table. So how to create ADO.NET Entity Data Model? You can get these videos in my playlist called ASP.NET Web API tutorial. So I discuss in each videos this ADO.NET Entity Data Model because this is common when we want to make a connection to our database. So as for the step 2, I'll go to my Visual Studio. Okay, and here to create the ADO.NET Entity Data Model, there is one models folder. Okay, and in models folder you can see some ADMX files which I already created earlier. So this is nothing but ADO.NET Entity Data Model. Okay, so you can create a number of EDMX file, and here I am using this satyamodel.edmx. Okay, so while you create the ADO.NET Entity Data Model, it is asking which table you want to map. So when I create this model, it is asking which table or stored procedure you want to map, so that I am giving this table name user details React. Okay, so how to find out this maps to the table or not? If you expand that, there is one Satya model. Each EDMX file has its model. If you expand that, there is some CS files. This CS file is nothing but this table. Okay, so whatever table you map, so this EDMX or ADO.NET Entity Data Model, this converts this table to CS files, and whatever columns in my in my table, it is acting like a property in my CS files. So same property names, right? So in this way we can identify the entity data model and the table. Step 3, we need to check web.config for connection string. So if you open that web.config, right, if you drag to bottom, so here you can see in connection string section there is some add name SatyaDB entities 1 2. Here I have 3 connection string because I have 3 EDMX files or ADO.NET Entity Data Model, so that it is creating the connection strings here. So ADO.NET Entity Data Model will create the connection string for you by default, no need to create manually. So here I'm using this ADO.NET Entity Data Model satyamodel.edmx, so that I am using this connection string 1. So this SatyaDB entities connection string, this is the model Satya model, right? Models.Satya model, and this provider name system.data.sql client, and this provider have the connection string. This is the data source, my server name, and this is the database, and this is the relevant properties of connection string. Okay, so this is the details for connection string in web.config file. Step 4, we need to create a API endpoint to get user details and get user details by ID. So here guys, I am creating one controller. If you expand this controller, I'm creating one controller called React Pros controller.cs. So this controller derived from API controller. It is a base class, and SatyaDB entities, because I'm using in config as SatyaDB entities my connection string add name, so I'm instantiate. Okay, these are the route. I am using the route prefix as API/user React, and this has the two endpoints. One is get user React details, it will return all the user details, and one is get user React details by ID. So based on the ID value, it will filter the records. So first of all, I'll show this code for this endpoint. So if you expand, so you can see this get employee method. Okay, and try catch, it will return all the user details, and the exception handling it is mentioned. Same way for this endpoint, it will filter the record. So I am using as a parameter for this method get user by ID. So if the user will assign to this ID, based on user ID, it will filter the records here. Okay, and if there is no data found, then it will be return no data found and exception handling. Otherwise, it will return the user based on the ID. So this is the code for this endpoint. So I'll drag top to bottom to capture the code. So this is the code for controller and API endpoints. Step 5, we need to create and install react.js, and this is the command npx create -react -app space my -react -app. Okay, so my React application name is my -react -app. So guys, before installing it, make sure your node and npm is installed in the system, and VS Code also installed in your system. So to install these packages, I'll go to my VS Code. Okay, this is my React app. So you just click on this terminal, new terminal. Okay, so here you need to execute this command. Once you execute successfully, a React application will be created, and you can see this is the React application structure, my React app, and inside the folder structure you can find out, right? Node underscore modules, public src, packages, and readme file. Okay, and this is the code, this is the structure of React application. Step 6, we need to check React dependency. This file name is package.json. So there is one file package.json, right? So whatever packages you have installed, you can check here. Step 7, we need to generate a React component. So go inside src folder, create a new folder. This folder name is model demo folder, and inside folder I created two files, action.js and model.js. So here there is src. Inside the model folder is created, right click on create new folder, model demo, and inside model folder create new two files, action.js and model.js. So this is acting like a component in React. Step 8, we need to install bootstrap. This is the command npm install bootstrap -save. So same way, terminal, new terminal, and execute the command. Okay, once you execute, you can check the package.json here. So you can see here the bootstrap version is installed. So same way for step 9, install react-bootstrap space bootstrap for design table and button, and this is the command npm install react-bootstrap space bootstrap. So this is React bootstrap command. So once you successfully install using this terminal, you can see react-bootstrap version is installed. You can check inside package.json. Step 10, we need to install Axios library. Npm installs --save Axios. So same way you can install using the terminal of React, the VS Code, and once it's installed, you can check the version, that is Axios in package.json. Okay. So after installing these three packages, we can check in package.json. Also, we can check the relevant files and libraries under node underscore modules folder. So if you'll go to, you can check in the folder structure. If you uh, go to the node underscore modules folder, you can check here. First we'll check here for Axios, right? See here Axios, and you can check this libraries. Same way for React hyphen bootstrap. So React hyphen bootstrap, you can see, right, this one, and for only bootstrap. So expand that, you can see the bootstrap. So three packages, we can check its relevant libraries. Also we can check from VS Code underscore or node underscore module folder, and you can check the bootstrap. First I'll check for bootstrap here. So here bootstrap, okay, and then the Axios. So this is the Axios, okay, and one is React hyphen bootstrap. So this is React hyphen bootstrap, right? So in this way we can check the package and its node underscore modules folder for relevant libraries of this particular package. Okay, and step 11, we need to write code in the JS file to perform operation in modal popup in modal.js. So guys, there is two components, one is modal.js, one is action.js. So modal.js I am using for modal popup in React. So I'll show that code. So close this one, I'll close this one, go to the modal.js. Okay, so this is the code for modal.js. Click this one. Okay, so you need to create the import statement. Okay, and this is the command, this is the code for modal dot. So class modal, so modal is nothing but a class. Here when we create a component in React, it is extended as the JS, but it acting like a class. It's a component, right? You can see this extends from react.component, so it is acting like a component. So each component had its method, render method, okay, and this props.show, and this is the backdrop style const variable. So there is some property values I've set. Same way for model, right, and set the properties for here. And inside the return, so each each React application have a render and return. So in the return, this is defined for modal design part, right? So this modal it will be styled as a modal, and this is the props.children, and it's a footer, right? So each modal has a footer, and this footer has a close button. So this close button on click event I'm using here, this dot props dot on close. So this is nothing but a method. Okay, same way this is for this dot props dot children. So this children nothing but getting all the user details, and it will be displayed in the modal, right? So this modal, the prop types, one is on close, show, and children. So I'm using here prop types as a close and children, and same way for show, right? Here I'm using that a show here. So you can define it like this, the prop types. So export default modal. So this is the code for modal.js. Okay, step 12, we need to open action.js file and call webapi endpoint. So there is one more component which I am using for consume the API endpoints, that is webapi endpoints, and we'll display that result in our table and as well as in the modal. Okay, so I'll open that action.js file. Same way I'm using the import statement. This is the Axios library import, and this is for React bootstrap, and this is the API URL. So my web API project, when I'm running, so this is the localhost port number, and this is the route prefix API/user React. Okay, if you'll open that my my web API project, you can see the route prefix. The same thing I'm using here in my React application. So here, see here, this is also a component. So this is acting as a class app. So in modal, it is acting like modal class. So here in action.js, I'm using as a class app extends component. So it has a constructor, the props, and the super props. This has the state. So this is open, error, user data, and response. It has a method component did mount and the Axios library. I'm using this Axios, and I can access the get method and the API URL which I defined here. Slash, this is the endpoint, get user React details. This is nothing but this one, right? So it will return all the user details table. So this will return all the user details. And this toggle modal, so it is using for filter the records. So each row has its button, and so this button will click on this, it will pass this ID value and it will display the user details on this modal. Okay, so this method is used for modal details. So user ID pass parameter, get request API URL, concatenate with this endpoint, get user React details by ID, nothing but this one, and then user ID. Okay, so this is the user ID and the response. So this is used for filter the records. Okay, and same way it has the successful records. If they are in exception, it will found, and then set state. Okay, so this set state used for modal popup, right? See here. And this render method has a users and this dot state and div class name as app, and it has the design part, right? So when our React application will load as a default page, it will display first of all the user details which with some limited column headers with the records. So this is the S3 tag I mentioned here. Display user detail in modal popup in ReactJS using web API. And this is the table class name. This is the bootstrap class CSS, and this table header I'm using first name, email ID, mobile number, and action. Okay, and in the table body I'm accessing this values using the user properties, user.user ID, user.first name, email ID, and mobile number. Okay, so here I'm using the table row as a key. So this will not showing in the table, but I'm using it as a key to pass these values. So there is each row has a button for details. So on click on this, it will be open the modal popup. So I'm using here toggle modal, right? So this toggle modal I already discussed in the here, right? Toggle modal. So same method I'm defined here, and method I called here on the button click event, right? So it will close the td, tr, and tbody and table. So this is used for table, HTML table to display the records. And this next div line, it is showing for modal details, right? So modal, so this dot state dot is open, on close method it will open that toggle modal, this dot user ID. So our modal has two properties, one is show, one is on close. So on show it will display the modal, on close it will display the modal based on the user ID. Okay, and this modal also tables which will display all the user details like first name, last name. Okay, and this is the table header and table body, and the first name, last name, email ID, mobile number, address, pin code, company name, gender, country, state, city. So we can access using this dot state dot user data dot first name. Same thing for all the field values. So close this table, modal, div, and respective columns and brackets, and export default app. So this is the code for action.js. Okay, so I'll drag top to bottom. Alright, so our next 13 step is index.js file to import necessary libraries. So index.js, and this is the necessary libraries. Okay, and the import app. So import app is app is nothing but our src app, right? Src app.js. Okay, so and the service worker. So this is the import statement we need to use, and if you put our mouse here, you can see this which path it corresponds to. And React DOM render method, and this is the app component, and document.get element id root. So if you okay, this is the code for index.js. So my first application, when it will load, it will be first hitting to this index.js, and based on the import app, it will display the result. It is a kind of start page. Okay, and we will discuss the next we discuss index.js, index.css. Okay, so this is the index.css value, css property values. Okay, and this is for app.test.js, so there is nothing to check here. App.js, so see here, this is the import statement we need to use for React app.css action. So this action is nothing but action.js. Put over mouse, you can see, and this is for bootstrap minified version of CSS. Okay, and this function app return div class name app action. So this action is nothing but action.js. Okay, and this is the export default app. Let's check for app.css. So this is the some CSS property of app.css. All right, so yeah, I discussed this model demo and these two files, action.js, model.js, app.css, app.js, app.test.js, index.css, index.js. So this is not required. Report web vitals.js, and this is service worker.js. So this is the just default code file created by the React. No need to write any code here for this application. Setup test.js not required, and these are the git ignore, package -log, package.json, and readme. So this is the all code. All right. Okay, now we need to set cross origin resource sharing in web API. Go to the web API config.cs file, right? So this config.cs file available inside the app_start folder. So first of all, we need to install the cars from the NuGet package. Then we can access this namespaces and add these 2 lines of code for set up the cars. So I'm using some definitions here for cars. Okay, and step 14 is already discussed, and step 15 we need to run web API and the React app. So I need to run my web API first. So my web API application is running successfully. We need to check some endpoints. Okay, so there is API/user React route prefix / my endpoint, right? So it will return all the user details. So I'm getting all the user details here, right? Same way for other endpoint. API/user React /get user React details by ID /1. This is the user ID value. So I'm getting the user details whose ID is 1. So that means my web API is successfully getting the request and returning the response. Let's run my React app. So command is npm start. So my React application is compiled successfully. I'm getting this local, right, some URL for local and my network. So that's all about to run my application. Let's check for output. So guys, this is my React UI page, right? It has the first name, email ID, mobile number, and action, and it has some buttons, user details. On click of this button, it will display the user details for Satya, right? So see here, I'm getting the user details for Satya's first name, last name, email ID, mobile number, address, pin code, company name, gender, country, state, and city. So on close button, it will close this modal. Same way we'll check for Mohan. Display the details for Mohan. For Suresh, I'm getting the details for Suresh. Same way for Nish. So this it will display the user details for niche, and for sonum it will displaying the details for sonum user details, and for retest if you click on details it will display the retest details including all the field values. Okay, so let's check for bootstrap support. Click inspect element. So I'm seeing here based on the device screen it will adjust the output. So iPhone SE, alright, so based on devices it will adjust the screen here. Right, you can see. So that means my bootstrap supports successfully. There is one more thing, how to check the API endpoints which we consume in our React application. So there is one network tab. Okay, let's refresh this. So here guys I'm getting one endpoint, get user details, React details. So there is header section, I'm getting this endpoint, and the preview section I'm getting the rs of user detail, and there is a response, so I'm getting the API response here. We can check in the network tab, right? Same way we'll check for details endpoint. Let's clean this, click on this. I'm getting one endpoint, one, right? So one is nothing but this endpoint, API slash user react slash get user react details by ID slash 1. This previewed, it shows the user details whose ID is 1 in as array. I'm getting the response whose ID is 1, right? So in this way we can check the API endpoint consumed in our React application using inspect element under network tab. So let's go to my before that check the node section. Okay guys, there is one more thing. Whatever the files I discussed using API project as well as the React project, this is the API project and this is the React project. So whatever the files we discussed, so this code is available in this repo, and you will go to this URL GitHub repos and I will show you that. So you can download this folder zip file from this GitHub repository URL. Okay, so this is all about the steps for how to call API endpoints in React application and to get user details in modal popup in React. So let's go to my presentation here. So what is Axios library? Axios is a modern and promise-based JavaScript HTTP client library that works asynchronously and allows us to make HTTP calls and consume REST API. So guys, that's it for today. Thank you for listening. Have a great day.